The Galactic Union's grand hall shimmered with crystalline walls reflecting the soft glow of hovering lights. Delegates from a dozen worlds gathered, their forms ranging from sleek and serpentine to massive and plated in chitin. All eyes turned as the human delegation entered, a small, unassuming group led by Elias Carter. He moved with practiced ease, offering warm smiles and firm handshakes. His charcoal gray suit was tailored to perfection, but nothing about him seemed threatening. Just another eager representative from a young species hoping to find its place among the stars. The alien dignitaries whispered among themselves. Humanity's technology lagged behind, their fleets were small, and they lacked the psionic prowess that defined the great empires. They posed no threat, a harmless curiosity at best. Elias played his role well. With smooth charm, he complimented the Union's grandeur while carefully steering conversations toward trade routes and military operations. His voice carried the right mix of humility and curiosity, masking the calculations running beneath his calm exterior. Ambassador Vayala observed from the edge of the chamber. Her emerald skin glistened under the lights, and her gold-etched robes clung to a frame both graceful and dangerous. Her species, the Zelari, were known for their intellect, and their ability to tear through the minds of lesser beings. Yet, as she watched Elias work the room, her suspicion grew. Something about him was too polished. Too deliberate. Elias sensed her gaze but didn't react. Instead, he turned to a towering Avarian diplomat and deftly slipped a sleek silver pin into the alien's grasp as they shook hands. The pin began transmitting a data pulse, quietly siphoning encrypted communications back to his team. Across the hall, a subordinate sent him a subtle signal. Another system breached. Vayala's lips curved slightly. She approached with the slow, deliberate steps of a predator. "Your people adapt quickly," she said, her voice smooth, almost playful. "Not long ago, humanity was barely leaving its cradle." Elias smiled, meeting her gaze with unyielding calm. "We learn fast. It's a survival trait." Her eyes narrowed. Beneath the polished words there was an edge, a predator of a different kind. She decided to push further. "Perhaps you join me for a private discussion," she offered, her tones silk over steel. "I'd like to understand your people better." Elias tilted his head, playing the part of the curious diplomat. "How could I refuse?" As they left the chamber, Elias' earpiece buzzed softly, another breach confirmed. The game was on. Elias sat across from Vayala in a private chamber, the atmosphere heavy with unspoken tension. The room's curved walls pulsed softly with alien bioluminescence, casting a faint green glow on her skin. She reclined gracefully, studying him with sharp, golden eyes. "You humans are surprising," she said, her voice smooth but probing. "Most new species stumble through their first diplomatic engagements. Yet you seem so comfortable." Her fingers traced the rim of a crystalline goblet, her movements casual, but her gaze never left his. Elias smiled, unbothered. "We're adaptable. First contact is a learning opportunity, one we take seriously." She leaned forward slightly, the neckline of her robes dipping just enough to test his focus. "And what exactly are you hoping to learn?" The question carried layers beneath its surface. Elias matched her tone, offering a casual shrug. "Cultural exchange. Politics. Security concerns. It's all fascinating." He took a slow sip from his glass, using the motion to distract while a micro-drone hidden in his cuff scanned the chamber's data field. Vayala's smile deepened, though a flicker of irritation crossed her face. "Yet you ask the most interesting questions, ones usually reserved for intelligence officers rather than diplomats." He chuckled softly, as if the suggestion were absurd. "Curiosity isn't a crime, is it? After all, your people are just as curious about us." Her tail flicked behind her, a subtle sign of rising suspicion. "Curiosity is one thing. Precision is another." She shifted closer, her voice dropping to a silkier register. "I wonder, Elias, are you always this precise?" The air thickened as she tested his defenses. Beneath the casual banter, she was running an advanced molecular scan on his biology, a trick designed to detect subtle augmentations common in spies. He knew it. With a well-timed stretch, he triggered a low-frequency pulse from the implant in his spine, scrambling her readings without raising alarms. "Precision keeps us alive," he said, flashing an easy smile. "Our species didn't reach the stars by being sloppy." Viola tilted her head, sensing the deflection. "I appreciate precision," she murmured, her tone turning more suggestive. "But I'm far more interested in what lies beneath." Elias let the moment stretch, keeping his expression unreadable. She was good, dangerously so, but she wasn't the only one playing this game. The chamber lights dimmed to a warmer hue as Viola shifted closer, the scent of her species' pheromones subtly saturating the air. It was a potent tactic, biochemical manipulation meant to lower defenses and extract hidden truths. Most beings would falter under its influence. Elias wasn't most beings. He leaned back, feigning ease while his mind remained razor-sharp. "You're very thorough," he said, letting the edge of amusement slip into his tone. "I suppose that's expected from someone of your rank." Viola's lips curved. "Thoroughness is a necessity when dealing with unpredictable species." Her gaze traveled slowly over him, searching for any telltale crack in his facade. "Humans are a mystery. I find mysteries irresistible." He let her words hang, sensing the push beneath them. She wanted him off balance, disarmed by the intimacy. Instead, he angled his body just slightly, close enough to suggest interest, distant enough to keep control. "Mysteries have their charm. But aren't you worried about what you might find?" Her hand grazed the table's smooth surface, activating a silent data lock on the room. No signals in. No signals out. A quiet trap, but one he anticipated. "I enjoy a challenge," she murmured, the purr in her voice deliberate. "And you?" Her fingers trailed near his wrist, brushing the concealed scanner there. "Are very challenging." Elias allowed a low chuckle to escape. "I aim to please." Behind the charm, his mind tracked the silent duel unfolding. Her skin had failed to detect his implants. A minor victory, but it confirmed one thing: she wasn't simply curious. She was hunting. Viola shifted again, the warmth of her body brushing the edge of his arm. "You play your role well," she said softly, her golden eyes gleaming. "Almost too well." "And you," he countered, voice smooth as polished steel, "seem awfully interested in a simple diplomat." A flicker of frustration passed through her features, brief, but enough. For all her skill, he was still one step ahead. But the real game wasn't seduction. It was control. Every word, every breath was part of a larger move on the galactic board. And neither of them intended to lose. Viola's composure sharpened as the air grew heavier, the playful edge in her tone fading. "You're hiding something," she said, her voice quieter now but no less dangerous. "I wonder how far you're willing to go to protect it." Elias met her gaze without flinching. "I could say the same about you," he replied smoothly. "Your interest in me seems unusually persistent for a simple diplomatic exchange." Her fingers tapped lightly against the table, a deliberate rhythm. "When something doesn't fit, I investigate. And you..." Her eyes narrowed. "You don't fit." He let the accusation linger without reacting. Inside, he was already processing new data. The microdrone hidden in the room's paneling had intercepted a fragment of classified Zelari communication, plans for an unregistered fleet. This meeting wasn't just a test for him. Viola was guarding secrets of her own. "I'm just a man doing his job," he said, his voice smooth but firm. "If I didn't fit, I wouldn't be here." Her tail flicked in irritation, the veneer of casual seduction beginning to crack. "And yet you're too competent. Too controlled. No species advances this quickly without assistance." Elias allowed himself a slow, deliberate smile. "Maybe humans are just better at playing the game than you expected." For a moment, silence hung between them, thick, charged. Then, with fluid grace, she leaned back, studying him with open calculation. "You think you're winning," she said softly. "But you're underestimating me." The console at her wrist glowed faintly as she accessed a hidden protocol. Elias felt the pressure shift, an advanced neuroprobe, subtle enough to slip past most countermeasures. But his defenses were built for exactly this. The implant at the base of his skull emitted a false mental pattern, feeding her a carefully crafted facade. "You're good," he admitted, tilting his head. "But you won't find what you're looking for." Her frustration flared, brief but visible. She wasn't used to being outmaneuvered. "And if I keep looking?" she asked, the threat beneath her words unmistakable. Elias stood slowly, adjusting his cuffs with practiced ease. "Then you'll learn something more dangerous than you're ready for." He held her gaze, letting the weight of his words settle. "We aren't here to play by your rules. And you're not the only one watching." He turned and left without another word, leaving Viola alone in the silence, knowing, at last, that humanity was far from harmless.